Two. Yes, sir. How's it going out there on this great Sunday, the 26th of February? Yes, indeed. All right, all right. Well, welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. Good to see you guys.
Man, we want to thank you for joining us on Bring It to the Table. You know, we here. We're here. Just like I said, this is the first time that's really going live like this on YouTube. So, you know, we're experimenting today and just testing the waters, seeing what's what, you know what I'm saying? It little nervous, but it's all right. We're going to go for it anyway. So again, welcome to Bring It to the Table. I am Carlisle St. Patrick.
I'm Walter Kirk Jr.
And we want to thank you for joining us on
Bring It to the Table.
So if you will, hit that subscribe button. Give your the homies, your friends, your gentlemen a shout out.
Right.
Let them know about what we're doing here on this channel.
So we'll even help out your enemies.
That's right. Yeah, but today our title is It Starts With Us. And I was just thinking about this because I had a client that I was talking to, a man of Jewish descent. And he was talking about, what he had saw on the news, and when it comes to the young black youth, how they are carrying on, they're robbing, people of their kind and so on and so forth. And I had to get him to understand is there's a rhythm to that. There's a reason why that's taking place. From what I've seen, I mean, you and I have been a youth at some time or another, you know what I'm saying? So oftentimes, because of the lack of resources and the things that are not available to us, we go in survival mode, and it's not that we are hostile people and that's the way we get down, but again, it's about survival mode. There is some characteristics that have been picked up from being in the hood, so to speak, or being a part of a system that pretty much keeps us in poverty. You want to chime in?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. I mean, I was just reading some stuff the other day how ghettos were performed. They made ghettos for us to be that way, and like you said, when there's a lack of resources, a lack of income, a lack of having, you create a hostile environment. And a desperate person, like remember we were talking about two different things about, there's survival mode, and then there's just having a certain behavior.
Right.
You put a person in survival mode, they're gonna do what they need to do to survive. A person want to live. I think we were talking about the house slave and the field slave.
Right.
I think that's what we were talking about. So.
Right. So I put down a couple of topics, so to speak, or in areas that we can go into and just talk about this thing a little bit. Number one was, how does the world see people of color? And just like I was explaining before, here's a gentleman, a Caucasian gentleman, a Jewish gentleman, and he was just looking at, as he watches the news and the way the world is betraying us or portrays us as being violent and hostile people. We are all not that way, and again, a lot of our mannerisms and the things that we have picked up, they were given to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when you want to point the finger and really talk about a people and they're this and they're that, I mean, I was able to look up some things, and man, it's countless of inventions and ideas and things that people have come up with. And and as I'm listening to some historians, and they were talking about how we were able to gain freedom if we were, so to speak, inventive. If you invented something and you gave that patent, well, you didn't really have a choice. But one of the missions were, as you say, you can either be an inventor or you can be someone that tells on your fellow brother. And that, in some cases, would get you your freedom or get you favor with the slaver.
I think it's favor. I don't think it got you freedom. You know.
No, well, in some cases it did.
Yeah.
You know, because there were certain laws that were set forth, and that's the kind of way that they did. If you saved a slaver's life in that time, if you turn on your brother, you know, I was just listening to what's the doctor's name? I think we were listening to earlier.
Wow, what was his name? He's a renowned doctor too. Clemens. What was it? Clemens.
Yeah, let me check.
It was very good though. When you know.
Right. Oh, Dr. Claude Anderson.
Claude Anderson.
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was just listening, you know, to what he was saying. A lot of the slaves were able to gain their freedom by telling on each other. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because when you look at us today, in today's times, what we do to each other to get ahead. You know, there's no unity. There's no coming together. And a part of that is because of what was given to us. Like I said, a lot of our mannerism and a lot of our ways, and some say even our religion, was given to us. So when you have a society, this is 400 and some years later. I mean, how many more years has it been since we've been enslaved? I mean,
It's well in America. It was like it's over 400 years now. But if we really want to go back to it, you know, the only reason we were able to be enslaved by the Portuguese and the Arabs. Those were the original ones that started that. It was because over in Africa, we wasn't doing some things that we should have been doing, and we were doing some things to each other. Like,
and that's going to actually be our next topic. And I was going to talk about we are our worst enemy, and you know, like he was saying, again, I'm going to piggyback, but just back to where we were, just looking at things as a whole, you know, things that were actually given to us in a manner of, and so on and so forth, you know, and it's been going on for so long. So when you have a people that have been subject, when you have anyone that has been subject to something for so long, and that's the only way they know, you know, survival.
It's a slave mentality.
Right. So that mindset has been going on and on and on and on in our society, especially as people of color. You see other people, you know, other races, they are able to come together. You know, not all of them, but I see a lot of unity, and they're unifying and they're coming together to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. It seems as if we're the only ones. It may be a couple or one person that will stand up for us as a whole. And I think that's a problem too. We designate one person. I think in order for us to have a victory in today's time is for the collective to come together, you know, and just come together in the meetings of the mind. And that was part of the structure that was given to us. That whole structure was set up to keep us
divided. Yeah. And I want to say that, you know, it's not so much that we had one leader stand up at the time. We had a one Pacific one, but we had other ones that were in place also. But that's the way that you gain control over a certain people. We know that racism is a group. Discrimination is an individual thing. So the racism was the group against a certain race. The way that you get control over a certain race is you divide them. Right. You bring, like, if they bring a leader like you, and you have 5 people around you. What I do is I destroy you, and then I eliminate the man out of the family, right, like they did, so that they won't be strong. The word of God tells you how do you take a man's house. You got to bind the strong man up first. So what did they do? They systematically did it with welfare. Like, okay, you can't have the man in the house. So you take the man out of the house. You can't get welfare if the man is in the house. So what does that do? Now that makes the woman raising up weak men.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I mean, although society would like us to believe that a woman can raise, and I'm not saying she can raise a male child by herself, but there will be some attributes that she cannot teach him.
Exactly.
Some attributes that she cannot show him.
So he won't be the best he can be.
Exactly.
See, that's what we're saying.
Right.
When we say a woman can't raise a man, we're not discriminating against what a woman can do and what a woman can't do.
Women are very powerful, especially the black woman. So let's not get it twisted.
No, never that. We wouldn't be here.
Right.
The black race would not even be here without women. The strong women that we have, sisters that we have. But what we're saying is the generations that they're raising up aren't the men that they should be and could be, or the best that they could be. And that's what we're saying is, and they know that they systematically took the man out of the home, either by prison, either by economics. So that when we're raising up the next generation,
right,
it's get weaker and weaker and weaker. And you guys know that now. You can see it to this day. We're 70, 60 babies, and now you can see the generation that's coming up. They're not the same. They don't have the same. They don't have the same intestinal fortitude.
Right.
They don't have the same backbone, or they don't understand the ethics of hard work or certain things. They don't have that in them because they haven't had to do that. Right.
Well, I mean, you look at today's time. Their system and the way it's set up for them, it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the technical devices we did not have when we were coming up. And it's available for this generation.
Oh, they're intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
But the morale is not the way it was when I was coming up.
Right.
I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12, 13 years old. I'm saying I've had my business since I was my own business since I was 15 years old.
Come on.
And still operating the same business. I've been in the business for over 30 years doing what I do. Now God has called me to step into leadership, ministry,
right.
And I was reluctant at first, but I see that I do have a calling, and that's a ministry that God wants me to go into. And I am very, not trying to be conceited or anything like that, but I see that I am gifted. I do have a gift dealing with people, and that definitely is from the Father above. I can't take credit for that at all. So, anyway, let's go to the next one, because I was just thinking about the next one is we are our worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about that, I was just looking at when they had went over to Africa, exploring, so to speak, they saw how we were treating each other. You know what I'm saying? So the labor force and the things that we were doing to one another, different tribes were enslaving different tribes. And this was as Africans. You know what I'm saying? So we are our worst enemy. We were selling our brothers out for profit. Well, they're less than us anyway. They're from another tribe anyway, or there's, it doesn't matter. If I can gain from that. And again, that same type of mindset is still in the practice and still flowing and going forth today.
Right.
So we will sell each other out for $1.
Well, I want to say this if I can.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some history on slavery and how it worked. And how it worked, it had been there prevalent to even, us being enslaved and brought into America. It had been there already.
Right.
Not just with Africans, with the people in general.
Right.
Because in general, you were enslaved for one thing. You owed a debt. Or you were conquered by another people and they took you. And then you were sold, but it wasn't supposed to be for life. You get what I'm saying? It was only supposed to be until the debt was paid.
Right.
Now, the Romans and the Catholic Church changed that to where it became a certain race of people where it was for life. They changed that. Well, and that right there is something they added into it. And when they did that, they seen that we were trading people for as a commodity, because Africans were conquering other Africans, which was no different than what other countries were doing. They were conquering other countries and doing the same thing. But what it is, they would have never been able to do that in Africa if we wasn't in agreement with them.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like you say, coming together as a collective, you know, and when you talked about that particular situation, it started with the Roman Catholic Church. They did actually initiate it and
from the Portuguese
from the Portuguese and brought it to the States.
Right.
The duration of ownership or slave, you could have a slave in your presence was from 5 to 7 years.
Right, exactly.
So what happened was there was a black slaver, the richest black man in that day, named Anthony Johnson, back in 1665. He had his plantation, and at that time, again, here it goes, we were selling ourselves out for profit. In that day, as you came over here as an immigrant, you were allotted so much land and resources according to how many slaves you owned. So if you had an X amount of slaves, you were allotted this X amount of land. So him being a black man, he was already free. I think he had came from, I'm not sure, I forgot where he had come from, but he had came here free as a freeman. So he saw that, okay, so they're giving immigrants property, and if you had a certain amount of slaves, you were allotted so much land and property. So what he did is he collected, and he had multiple slaves. So what happened was there was a white slaver, I guess, that came through and was checking out his plantation, and talked to a couple of slaves and whispered in their ear. The black slave was like, well, man, I'm not cool with the idea that we're slaves for a lifetime, for a long time. He had been enslaving people. It's been 27 years. This one man that spoke to the slaver, the white slaver, and he said, well, you were supposed to have been free years ago. You know what I'm saying? He has no right because the state law
they changed
mandates that you can only have a slave for 5 to 7 years.
Exactly.
So what happened was this man of color took the white slaver to court, and he won because he didn't like the idea that his slaves can now walk off and be free. So he was granted life term slaveship over a slave. So it started from him, a black man again, ownership of a slave. So from that principle, a law was set because of, again, us. A lot of what happens to us and a lot of what goes on, even today, they're modeling what we're showing them. We talk about Black Lives Matter and how they're killing us in the streets. The police are shooting us down. That's wrong. It's very wrong. But how right is it for us to shoot each other down in the streets? You see what I'm saying? So if we don't value ourselves,
it makes
why should they value us?
Well, and that's what Dr. Claude Anderson was speaking about. He was speaking about. He said, "It's not what you don't value; it's what do we value." And if we don't value each other, where we can cut down half of this madness by just not doing each other.
Exactly.
We can cut down half of it right there, and that's the key first. And I think if we, as people, until we come to the conclusion, under no circumstances will I take the life of another individual. and go from there. We'll start to see a resurgence in how we value each other.
Right.
And I wanted to say the other thing that you were speaking to,
Mm-hmm.
how you at first you were kind of reluctant for your call, and then now you accept it and you see that you had a call. I want you to know something, audience, as we speaking. Every one of us is supposed to be having our own business, starting our own business, having our own, being our own leader. We're not supposed to. There's a time where you work for somebody else for a period. It might be a period in a small period of time. You do that. You learn some things in terms of trade. But when you learn who you are in your trade and your gift, you're supposed to be operating in that, and you're supposed to be over that. And then we would be more owners where we would barter with each other
Right.
as owners.
Right.
We would not. We don't have to even the currency. Real currency is when we barter with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize. Well, I know we do it with money now, but it's really the same currency. The currency is always backed up by what? Gold and everything else.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I appreciate that. Like you said, we all are
entrepreneurs.
business owners. We're entrepreneurs, and it's a beautiful thing because it makes me look back at the inventors and the things that we have.
Oh man, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
how the things we built and invented in America. We are the inventors of America. We are the wealth of America. We are the reason why America is the superpower. We are the reason why America is the number one capitalist nation in the world, because the main resource were black people.
Right.
And the black people made these inventions with no education from them, with most of it no education, but a lot of it is just because that's who we are as individuals. So one thing in my house, and I know he's been in my house and he's seen, I have a list of all the black inventors, and he has it right here, of all the inventions that they have. The air conditioning making by Franklin M. Jones. You got auto cutoff switches made by Granville Woods. And the list goes on and on. I know he doesn't want me to go through it, but if you really look at it, we basically built the wealth of this country up. And what they did is what is Africa? Africa is the motherland, and it has in the resources. We think it's the diamonds, the gold, and the silver and the emeralds that's over there, but it was Africa's main true wealth. Well, being the motherland was the people, because the people were so gifted and had so many gifts and talents that they could come over here and use those same things and build up a whole country. And you see how that country looks today.
Man, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Man,
and they took all the
elevator,
yes,
the electric light bulb,
the traffic light,
door stop,
yes,
doorknob.
Yes.
I mean, the list goes on and on. Right here, there's 109 listed.
Right.
But I know there's way more than 109.
Way more.
They won't give us credit for what we have.
Well, they took the inventions and took the name from them, gave them pennies on the dollar,
and not to even think about how many times we sold out.
Yeah.
We quick to sell out, and I'm not against it, but you have big corporations that have been corporations for centuries. You know what I'm saying? It's been generational, from generation to generation to generation. There's not too many things that we can say that we have held on.
Oh well,
and pass it down from generation.
Well, if you're a slave and you don't have no education,
right?
If you're a slave and you have an invention and you make it, and it's prospering, and they offer you pennies on the dollar that you don't even know about. You don't even know what you got.
Man,
they gonna take it.
And I'm just thinking about that. I'm just thinking about that whole concept. You have a slave that is
making inventions
by a law. It's against the law for him to read or even get an education.
Right?
They're making things and inventing things
with their mind.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So when you look at the value and how great people of color are, that's a lot. You're talking about, I don't know how to read. I really don't understand schematics, the grid or whatever you want to call it, but I can still create something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand how great of a people that we really are? You feel me? And when you look at everything in this world,
Mm-hmm.
how we are often duplicated.
Mm-hmm.
They
All
try
the
to,
time.
but what they
All the
say,
time.
always duplicated, but never what? Imitated. What is it? Always imitated, but never duplicated. That's it right
something
there.
like that, right?
Right. So bottom line is, man, we've some great people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want all my brothers to understand, I get the struggle. I've been out there. I ran the streets. I've been a part of certain situations and done certain things. So I get it. It's hard, especially coming up as a youngster, man. When I was in my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
had I not had the skill that my father taught me,
right,
that was one of the reasons why I was an entrepreneur and had my own business.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in a family of, my dad had auto body shops.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was always around cars, and I loved cars. So one of my first businesses was auto detailing.
There you go.
It started with, actually it started with the people in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Going to church, and I was washing a lot of the old ladies' cars. That's really how I started my business. You talking about a 10-year-old kid? I didn't get but what the most of $5. But bottom line is, I had my own business at 10 years old.
It's in our DNA.
Come on, man.
It's in our DNA. I was, I'm talking like at 7 or 8, man. Me and my best friend, we had our own lemonade stand on the corner.
See?
On the corner of on the corner of 59th Street. In Los Angeles. We was running our own little lemonade business, making our little money, just as young kids. So it's just in us, man. And you look back at that stuff, man, and you can say that if you really, there's really no excuse once your eyes get open about it. And that's why I said, don't frown upon yourself. If you working for a company or doing whatever, I have a cousin that did 37 years murder, and he's out. He's been out 4 years. He's a supervisor at his position down. He's out. He's doing well. Has 2 cars. Has a nice house now. Doing great. He's been out for 4 years, but he spent the majority of his youth in prison. But he's out doing well now. He just went over to he went over to another, got out the country and went out and visited. So he's 59 and he's living his best life.
Right.
So it's not over for you. And I took what these companies are making for me and what I learned, and I'm putting my money into my houses and real estate, and I'm going to continue to expand. So you can do it. All of us have it in us to do it. It's just sometimes it takes a while to get it going, but don't give up.
Right. One of the things that I think I told my client, because he made the remark, and I guess sometimes we could be looked at as savages.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, and uncouth and uncivilized. But bottom line is, you take a people that have been abused on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about, and I don't want to take or disrespect our soldiers. You're soldiers as well. But when you talk about prisoners of war, especially Vietnam in those days, the things that they went through, coming back and look at men of color, young men of color on the streets today, or even back in the day, everything that we had to endure and go through. So what do they call it? You have PTSD. The majority of us need to be in therapy. I'm not going to even front. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, in LA on Crenshaw, getting pulled over, having to sit on the curb, they're searching the car. Even though that was a legal search, there was no drugs, or no one was on parole or probation. So they were searching the car, but I didn't know any better. I was a teenager. They didn't really have a right to come and look in that car. The bottom line is, we were getting pulled over because of the color of our skin. Driving around in nice cars. We were just young men, fortunate to have grown up in a pretty good environment. I won't say it was always good, but able to be rolling in a Mercedes, or that sometimes it was a Rolls Royce. There's no there, but bottom line is just the imagery of that and seeing the things, and even being robbed by gunpoint, being shot in LA by my own people. So when you talk about all of the things that I had to endure as a young man growing up of color, it's a lot. It's a lot. So when you talk about the fathers are not stepping up and they didn't do their job, and they're not in the household, and I mean there's so many factors. So when you want to start pointing the finger and blaming someone, I mean we know who we can really blame. You know what I'm saying? I know it does start with us, but it's the society that we're living in. It's tough, man. Yeah. And they don't get that. I mean, you can easily say, you're this and you're that, but until you can walk in my shoes and see my struggle and see how hard it was, and it's still hard. It is. I'm not going to even front. I struggle on a daily. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, and I'm not using that as an excuse.
No, it's
because
not.
I'm pressing forward.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And I love the saying, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world.
That's right.
See, I'm in God's system, not the world system. So I don't weigh my life on what the world says I can do and what I cannot do.
That's right.
I do what my Father say I can do.
Yes.
And he said I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I can do what I want to do. Basically, the sky's the limit. And guess what? God will make way. He will make my enemies my footstool. Believe it. And I'm not trying to come off religious or anything like that. I'm gonna keep it real. The only way I was able to make it is because God, Christ, is my background.
That's right.
You feel me?
That's true. He's my fortress and my refuge. He's my backbone. And we say that because we are spiritual beings.
Yes, sir.
And don't you ever forget that. And I want to say that just because we're under the principalities that's running this systems down here on the earth.
Yes, sir.
But we serve a greater one in us. And I want to say, look at what our ancestors have gone through, and look, we're still here.
Right.
So that lets me know that God's got the last say so. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Or you just can't give up.
Right.
See, that's the key. Just don't give up. Don't frown on you being in prison. Don't frown on you were on drugs. Don't frown on that hey, they won't give you a job. There's he's going to create an avenue for you, but you can't give up. You can't say I want to end my life. You gotta press and keep pressing through, because we come from a long line of people who are great, and we are the descendants of great people, and there's no quitting in us. There's no ending in us. Even we will just continue on and continue to be what God has created us to be. We're gonna be great. We're great people.
Yes, indeed. I like that. That was a great word of inspiration. Like you said, just don't quit. When you look at so many great men, even Steve Harvey, he started later. And I like the story that he always talked about. When you think you're too old, he talked about KFC. Colonel Sanders, Turner. He was 59. No, he was 60 something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, something like that.
He was in his 60s when he started the brand KFC.
Right.
Colonel Sanders. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about too late, it's never too late. You don't know how long God has for you on this earth. You could start. I'm 53. And I could start greatness today, right now. I already feel like I'm on the road to greatness. You know what I'm saying? Again, but it's God's timing. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I am behind schedule, or I didn't start early enough. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't have a man like me, or like my brother here in my life, to give me some wisdom, to guide me. My father was there, but again, and that's on the subjects of father. A lot of times our fathers only able to do or go just as far as what was given to them. You understand? So you got to realize my mom and dad, they were coming out of a system that was segregated. See, my family originates from New Orleans. And when you think about New Orleans, they did the paper bag test. You were treated better by the color of your skin.
Yeah,
And that started back in the slave days too.
no doubt.
They literally put that into play as a part of the Willie Lynch program. You know, you were treated differently
Yeah.
or better, I would say,
Yeah.
by the color of your skin. So if you were dark skinned, like my man here or myself, you know what I'm saying? You know, when I was coming up as a kid, I actually took my skin color as a rebuke. I'm not gonna even lie. I wanted to be light skinned so bad.
Mm.
And the funny thing is, all my relatives are light skinned. So I do come from a line of light skinned people. They got treated better in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Because they were of lighter or fair skin. You know, but to me right now that doesn't matter. We are all great. I don't care if you're dark skin, light skin, brown skin, whatever tone that you are, because we do come in many different colors.
Oh, no doubt.
You're great.
No doubt.
You're great.
No
You can achieve great things. You can do great things. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not able.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, we are our own worst enemy.
That's
And
right.
you know, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, you know, and I'm gonna end this with this.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about Black Lives Matter, I think first, Black lives need to matter with us. A lot of what we had talked about tonight or today, you learn that we started a lot of what we see going on today. You know, they may have intensified it or taken it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
They even made it a part of the united curriculum or system, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But oftentimes we give them the fuel for the fire.
Yeah.
And I think now moving forward, we need to make a change. We need to be different. You know, there was a time where we were segregated. You think about Black Wall Street when we were thriving and doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors, lawyers, pharmacies,
Whatever. Any
bus
businesses. You had
systems,
shoe business.
taxi system,
A shoe business or a
banking.
banking business.
Right. I
or
mean, it's
a candy store. You
candy
whatever
store.
your we had it all and we still have them. But,
Right.
But we definitely have to understand that everyone has a place in it. And I think what I just want to give you hope tonight. That's what I'm hoping we coming across, and I believe that's what Carlisle wants to come across too. That you just get hope and realize that you do matter. Your life does matter, and you will be what you perceive yourself to be.
Right.
That mentality has to change.
Right.
About who you are and how valuable you are.
Definitely. Like you're saying, you can be your own worst enemy.
That's right.
You know, the word says, "For a man thinketh, so is he."
Yeah.
So if you see yourself at the bottom of the totem pole, no matter what they say to you, no matter how they treat you, you are great. The word also often talks about too. Sometimes you got to speak well of yourself to yourself. Speak life into yourself. You know, speak greatness. Even if you got to look in the mirror, sometimes I may look like I'm crazy, but I'm talking to myself constantly
all the time. Me
because
too.
I'm lifting myself up.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Edify
Because
yourself.
man, you gotta
edify yourself.
Man, and I think one of the key factors is seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all those things will be added to you.
Come on.
One of the things is we're constantly seeking the things first. Scripture tells us to seek first the kingdom of God. Seek God first. And all that you want, all that you hope for, all that you need will be added. Our Father, our God, is a loving God. He also is a Father of fire and brimstone. But when you think about love, He said, "I am love. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. Whosoever believeth should not perish, but have everlasting life." I'm going to leave you with that. God bless you, everyone. Again, this is Bring It to the Table.
Thank you.
This is our first official live stream. We started off a little rusty, but that's okay. Hopefully, you know, our viewers out there, even if you chime in later, you're able to get something out of this. I mean, write something, put something in the chat. You know, let us know if you learn anything, or let us know if we've missed anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to try and be perfect, but I'm here to at least give it from our view. That's why this is called Bring It to the Table. This is not something that I'm saying everyone has to receive or have to live by, but it's just one man talking to another man and bringing our perspective on the way being a part of the kingdom has affected us and made us better men in society today. Again, like, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
All right. We will be back next week.
Yes, indeed.
And we want to see you guys, and we want to see your comments so we can come up with more things that you guys like to talk about, that we like to talk about, or whatever comes on our heart, God puts on our heart to do. And that's what it's about. We bring all topics from A to Z.
Definitely. I mean, this is not a Bible study. This is just a men empowering men movement.
There you go.
You know, we have a lot of platforms, and you know, our women are doing great.
Right.
I don't want to take anything from them, but we need more platforms with men building up men, like they say. Iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
And I thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.
See you soon.
One.
We're out.
We're out. Not bad, man.